Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. Hey guys, welcome to this episode. This is a very, very special episode. I'm lucky today because I'm being joined by my very best friend, Sarah. Everyone, I talk about her all the time. So if you know me in a work situation or in my personal life, you know lovely Sarah was a bit of a backstory, because today we're talking about, I get so many questions about the bodybuilding I did, the lifestyle I did, how I looked like that, how I felt about it, all that kind of stuff. I constantly get asked questions. So I did a poll yesterday about bodybuilding, and if you guys wanted to hear, and it was the biggest response I've ever had. So that's why Sarah and I are doing a podcast today. But a bit of backstory about how Sarah and I met, and it's just such an awesome friendship. When you meet someone like this in your life, they really change your life forever. And it's such a cool thing because at the time I was working I was managing a gym on Sundays. I would open and close the gym and run the gym. And I've been there for a few weeks in Howick, and this is back when I was in New Zealand. I was sitting at the counter one day, and then this like stunning redhead firecracker just walked into the gym.
You're too nice.
Walks into the gym, she's like, "Hi, I'm Sarah," and just chucks her bag down. I was like, "Hi, Sarah." And I haven't trained for, I've never seen anyone walk into a gym that was so excited to be there, so happy to be there. And instantly I was like, "Oh, I really like this chick. She's cool." And then we were talking about it just earlier before. We're like, how do we actually become friends? And we just kind of, literally, I was her third wheel in her marriage. Like, I was like attached to her, almost like a koala bear. You know the koala bears you get with the Velcro on their hands, and they're like little backpacks and the Velcro. I was like your koala, Sarah. I was like attached to her.
You were part of the furniture.
Yeah, so much. I loved her. And she was just such a big turning point in my life. There was so much stuff personally going on with me. And we met in 2004. No.
2014, 2015.
Oh, wow. Go Babs.
You didn't know me when I was 14, jeepers.
Okay.
Or maybe you did.
Let's not brag that she's a young spring chicken. She's a lot, like 10 years younger than me.
9.
Same thing. Sometimes, but no. So what was the year? 2014.
Yeah, I think 2015.
Like
no, 2014. Yeah.
So we met
competed in 2015.
Yeah, correct. So we met in 2014, and my life was all sorts of things were happening then. And so I was working in this gym because I wanted to get my headspace back into the bodybuilding world, because I was married to a bodybuilder. I was with him for about 8 years and lived that lifestyle predominantly. I wasn't living that lifestyle, but he was. And ever since I was 16, as you know, on one of my previous podcasts, at 16 years old, I saw a picture of Monica Brandt. I saw pictures of the American Figure girls, and I was like, oh my God, wish I could look like that. And I've been to a lot of bodybuilding shows with my ex-husband, and there's a buzz around them. Like, I was just like, I want to do it. I just want to do it. Anyway, so when I met Sarah, I was in a point in my life where I think I was on and off with a guy. I don't think I was single at the time. I think I was on and off with him. But I wanted to compete, and I had talked to a trainer at that gym, and he was the president of the federation at the time. He was like, well, I think you'd be pretty good at competing. Got a good shape. Do you want to maybe give it a crack? It will take you about a year or so to lean down and do all the work. And I was like, it was a bit of a pipeline dream for me, guys. And I was like, yeah. Anyway, I tell you what, my world changed when I met Sarah. Sarah, I was in a bit of bodybuilding prep at the time. I started prepping. My competition was in August, and I started prepping probably the October, November the year before. Wasn't hardcore, but I was pulling everything in and training twice a day and, really monitoring my food. giving me time to pull everything in, but it wasn't working. Like my headspace, it was there. I was doing the thing, but I was lacking something. When I met Sarah, her friendship and the love for me, she gave me the most support I've ever had in my life, would take me for who I was and back to me. And, sometimes because I've never had support in my life, I've never had good people around me. So, sometimes I can be a little bit sheltered and didn't know a lot of things. So she was really great because she's just such a great friend that had my back and never judged me. And I could, she's seen me naked when we're doing spray tans. So she's the only woman in this world that, me, guys. I am Miss Self-Conscious. I get teased by my girlfriend.
I think it's because I'm the polar opposite.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen me naked? I sent you nudes this morning. Jeepers.
So Sarah and I are very, very close, and it's such a cool relationship when you have a chick in your life that's like that, and we call each other our wives. Like literally we'd be married to each other, if we could. And it's just such a beautiful friendship because there's no judgment and you can be really open and honest. And in this bodybuilding world, you need to have the right support behind you. And that's literally, I would say, 90% of how I got to stage twice was because of Sarah. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And it was just, and at the same time, life goes on, guys. When you do a sport like this, we're going to dive into this deep, but I'm just giving you a bit of a backstory. You can want to do a sport like this, but when you hear people say you're ducks to be in a row, like, in your life, you've got your romance side, like your romantic side, your finances, your friends, your work, and family or whatever, right? And what happens in their life, there's always one that's out of kilter. Like one year it might be the money, one year it might be your health, one year you might have a breakup. It's never plain sailing. But to do bodybuilding, you need to almost start with everything kind of in sync, kind of in line, because it's a pretty rough ride if you do have everything in line, because once you get into it, we're going to go into this.
It's all consuming.
It's, when you, and that's why, I don't know, Sarah can probably help me with it, giving you guys a guesstimate. But say if we had 20 people in a room, Sarah, that were said to you, I want to do bodybuilding, let's give it a crack.
Yep.
Normally, I've been out of that world for so long, and you're in it way more than what I was. But how many weeks is it normally? 12 weeks, 16 weeks to stage that most people?
Let me clarify as well. I've been out of the game for a very long time. I don't bodybuild anymore, and don't have any intention ever to again. But it's so it depends on the person, depends where you are, and depends what you're wanting out of your body. So if you're chronically overweight and you've never weight trained in your life and you want to do a bodybuilding show, it's going to take you years. If you've always weight trained, you've got a little bit of extra weight on you, you're a gym bunny and you've always been kind of in the gym, you just need to dial it in. It'll be 12 weeks to 6 months, really, before you can get on stage. But, yeah.
Yeah, so I did close to a year-ish when I decided, but I wasn't strict and I didn't stick to things at the beginning. I was very wobbly. But so say, Sarah, we've got 20 people in a room. Through that 12 weeks, how many people get on stage? 2, 3 out of that?
Yeah, probably. It's it's not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there you go, guys. And there's different styles of bodybuilding. So I was brought up in a circle predominantly with men bodybuilders who were very old school bodybuilding, not into the fitness, into the model, into all the different rounds that they have.
All of that's new.
Yeah.
All of that's new.
Yeah.
So they only brought figure into bodybuilding in the 90s, I think it was, and figure now, from what most people would see, and like women that want to do inverted commas bodybuilding will see figure and they're like, oh, they're really muscular. But nowadays you've got all the fitness classes and the bikini classes and the model classes. So it's a much bigger kind of varied sport than it was.
Yeah, which is great. We all need a goal to work towards when it's our health and fitness. And if that's your thing, I really welcome it. But for me, and how I'm built too, guys, is it's a good and a bad thing in a way. Is I'm only built for one category. I physically couldn't get any. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't hit any of the figure classes because I'm too heavy. And I'm not saying it, I love my body, and I'm actually proud that I'm a strong mother effer. Like, I'm now at nearly 42, I'm the girl that I'm proud that I have big shoulders. I'm proud I've got good legs, and I'm proud that I couldn't, I'm a physique girl, hands down, can't wrap that up in wrapping paper. And so I was lucky when I did compete that, and I'm a girly girl, and I had zero interest, even if I was lean enough to get into figure. I'm have a pure passion for wearing bare feet on stage, for going out and just doing the grunt work. Like, I love the physique, and that's just, I was very lucky that it was the last year before they cancelled it all. So anyway, that was just, I just wanted to give you a scope of how hard the sport can be, how hard that you have, and I'm sure, like all of us, you know someone that's competed or know someone that's wanted to do it and they've pulled out the last minute. And big ups to anyone that even decides that they want to give it a crack. And the thing is, it's just one of those things that, yeah, unfortunately you have 20 people and 1 or 2 actually get up on stage and do it. And that's just because you've got life alongside the training. You don't just do bodybuilding and then eat and sleep and train. Very limited people do. But you've got a work job you've got to hold down. You've got to train twice a day. You've got to measure all your food. You may have kids. You may have a family. You may have friends. You life goes on, guys, because the thing is, even if you're heavily dedicated into the sport, the wheels will fall off at some time. You'll get sick, or something will happen in your family, or you'll have another interest, and you can't rely on bodybuilding to be your life, because I've seen it ruin the guy that I was married to. I saw a grown man literally break down in pieces when he didn't come first and he came third. That is an image I will never be able to get in my head. A grown man in the corner of the room, broken, with no money, because steroids were very expensive. And that's just the side of the sport, guys, that no one talks about and no one sees. But, you know, I have so much love for it, and I'm very passionate about it. And you DM me anytime, and I'm more than happy to give you any insight. But today,
I think that was part of the reason that I stopped the sport, because it became too much. I dedicated so much to it. Everything I could, I put into it. And then it was sort of like, I think the nationals for me, the last nationals I did was really, that was it. Because I was expecting to come first, and I came third, and I just could not cope with that. And I was like, at the end of the day, bodybuilding is subjective, isn't it? It's down to a crew of judges that are going to say whether you stack up or not. And I think, especially for women, that's really, really, really hard to get someone to see you like that, and not yourself. So, yeah, I thought the amount of work I put in and what I sacrificed to be there and to do what it was, to do what I was doing, it ended up not being worth it in the end for me. But that was it was my life for years, but it was hard to weigh that up and go, you know what, it's not worth it anymore.
To give listeners an idea, Sarah, like, I didn't even introduce you. Do you want to? Anyway, Sarah's my bestie, so that's probably all you need to know. But how many years did you compete?
I think about 7 years in total, but I think my last sort of 2 years into bodybuilding were my most sort of like serious, that I was really like giving it my all.
Yeah. So so there's 2 different ways. As Sarah was a lot in the pro category than what I was, and very
oh god, no, I wasn't a pro.
Very humble, should never, no, but very close to basically should have been one. So that's what I'm just going to put out there, because I did it clearly. I've never shown that much skin in my life. I've never worn a bikini in my life. I'm not a showy person. I don't like people staring at me. I did it because the girl at 16 wanted
to. Though, because you're a babe.
But I did it because I thought underlying too, I wanted to be lean so I could have the perfect life, and that's a whole nother thing we'll go into later. But for me, I love weights, I love training, It just makes me so happy. But yeah, I wanted to just let you know that, I did it literally just for fun. And I know people find that hard to understand, but that was how I got it done, was because I know I've seen someone's life literally fall apart, our marriage fall apart because it fell apart because of that whole sport. I've seen a lot of marriages break up with it. And I went into the knowing that, hey, I'm not going to win any money off this. I'm literally doing it myself. Let's give it a crack. Let's have some fun. With Sarah,
it's a wonderful mental battle too. It's cool to see what you're capable of. Not physically. It's not physically like a hard sport. It's totally a mental game.
Yeah,
and see what you can push yourself to it's pretty cool.
And I made some really cool mates there too. It was really cool. Couple of people there that were just awesome. We're always on the treadmill talking about food, which was awesome. But, I want you to know that when you do bodybuilding too, and we're just going to speak of it in a general sense, that you do not starve yourself. And so Sarah came on along my journey the beginning of 2015, like we were mates end of 2014. And like I said, my con was in August. So around about February, I really clicked with Sarah, and she was like, I know you're struggling a little bit, Barbs. I'll coach you. I'll help you. And I was like, are you serious? And I remember the first food, I could tell you exactly what the first food plan she gave me was half a cup of oats, some protein powder, and then I had like rice cakes and cottage cheese and sweet chili sauce and some days I could have 200 grams of, this is how much is burnt into my brain. When you do this sport, you have to be like this. It's like 200 grams of kumara, which is sweet potato in Australia, or pumpkin, 120 grams of kumara, or 200 grams of pumpkin, 150 grams of chicken. And I'm not going to go too much because I know if there's anyone out there writing that down, I'm not going to give you the whole food plan because it's not made for you. But just to give you an idea that 6 years later, I still can tell you exactly that first food plan she gave me too. And I cycled them. I know I can close my eyes and I can remember them. And that's the thing. I probably, I don't like the word cheated, but I think I might have broken it maybe a couple of times. Did I? Like I was
you were pretty good. You were pretty good, but there was definitely times when you were losing your shit and just wanted chocolate.
Yeah, and I'm a really big emotional eater. So for me, guys, I'm the kind of girl that before I was really did the work on myself, like I'm feeling anything I need to eat. Food makes me happy, and living with an ex-bodybuilder that ate so much, you tend to follow what your partner eats sometimes. So I would eat what a 130, 140 kilo man was eating. I've got a really great appetite, but I didn't need much food. So when I was bodybuilding with Sarah too and dieting, I had to peel everything right back. But I had a lot of emotional to start with. And I always will have for the rest of my life. I'm always honest about that. But there'll always be a tie to food. So I eat when I'm happy and sad and down. But now I've worked out why I do what I do. But anyway, for me, I was really proud of myself because I stuck to it. And I've dieted, like I said, I would have gone on my first diet in my early 20s and just kept going. So from 20 to 35 and then to finally find something to stick to. I was so proud of myself. But the difference was I had this beautiful woman next to me that I could be so vulnerable. I'd go to her house, I'd have a cry. I would complain a bit in the beginning. Yes, I did complain, but it was almost Sarah knew me because I would moan and bitch and moan sometimes. Not as much.
I just ignore you.
Yeah. Other people. And then you kind of clicked that I actually didn't mean it. I was just like, as my release.
Yeah.
And then
I like to complain too.
Yeah, but I just like to complain. It was like my release. And the leaner I'd get and the more the comments I'd get, it was just like, oh, is this working? Because you don't see it in yourself. And you actually, to be honest, guys, I don't think you ever see it in yourself until a couple of years later. Even the photos come back from the photographer, you're still, my lats could be bigger, or I wasn't lean enough. Do you find that, Sarah? It's not until reflection.
Yeah, very, very much so. When you're in that sort of that world and in that mind frame, I mean, your job essentially is to judge every inch of yourself. And I mean, again, that's when it becomes a little bit unhealthy, especially for women, but that's what you have to do. So you have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, okay, no, I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do this before I get on stage. So yeah, you're not going to be happy with yourself, even if you're at friggin' 5% body fat and you're ripped to shit. You're still going to see photos of yourself and be like, oh, I look terrible. Look at that. Oh, that's not gonna. Oh, I've got to do. Oh, look. Oh my gosh, my serrated glutes aren't serrated enough.
Yeah, there's so many different levels. Well, I didn't even think of any of that. I just wanted to wear a bikini and jump on stage and look okay for a novice, because I had been to so many bodybuilding competitions over the years, and I was a pure novice, guys. And I would watch novices, and I would sink in my chair and be like, oh God, if I would. And there's no judgment here, but I wanted to turn up the best package for me. Like I was like, oh no, if I'm going to turn up, I want to have a nice bikini, and I want to have a routine, and I want to look polished. Yeah. Guys, I had no fucking idea what you actually feel like when you're up there. So one of the first things Sarah said to me, I remember we went on a walk one day, and we were walking, and she turned to me, and it was really early on in the prep, might have been about March at the stage, and she said to me, hey Barbs. I went, yeah. And she said, what do you like at acting? And I'm like, well, I'm not good at acting. People can read me like a book. I can't act. She's like, well, you better. Because guess what? When you're up on stage, you feel like death. You feel like shit. You have no energy. You're exhausted, and you just feel so drained. And for me, I was like, how though? Everyone looks so happy and so amazing and so healthy and glowing. Like back then, I still remember going, oh, I'll be fine. Like whatever. Like I'll have my hair and makeup done in a pretty bikini. I'll be sweet. I'll be happy. And so as we got through the training, guys, it was awesome because, you know, when you've got the right person behind you, she was always checking in on me. I was eating oats. I was eating pumpkin and sweet potato and chicken and food. I was eating food, and a lot of it. I wasn't starving myself. I did have to train twice a day. And I tell you what, saying this now, Sarah, and Sarah is the most fittest chick you'll ever meet. Like she's just an incredible powerhouse. Dangerous to train with because I'm my ego, and we're both Leos, so that'll just paint the picture for you right there. I can normally out-train people, right? But when I met Sarah, there's no way I was even going to try. But we would catch up for girly catch-ups and coffee on Saturday or Sunday mornings. And you know the running track, guys? You know when you go to a running track, we would lunge the running track 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah, with weight vests on.
I don't know. Oh, like this is this, but we were so, and I'd love catching up with Sarah. I could have done that track all day, every day with you because we were just talking, laughing. Yeah, I just can't.
Just taking the piss generally.
It was just so much fun. That's what I mean. You've got to have someone beside you that is a really good balance for you. But I tell you what, there were some tough days. I'm just trying to think if I can think of one. I know there were.
I can't think of any specifically, but I definitely know that there were days where you were in tears.
Yeah, and I remember going to the gym sometimes and my trainer looking at me, and he was a guy and would always get uncomfortable. Me being a girly girl, when I'd cry, couldn't handle it. But I do remember sitting there with my cap on, my hat down by my eyes, just crying, and don't know why. I was just exhausted and I was sore, and I was getting
that's bodybuilding for you.
getting deep tissue massages every week. So it's an expensive sport. Like to eat like you do. Then I got my bikini made and had to travel an hour out of Auckland, I think, or even more to like get it fitted all the time. Then on top of that, you got your routine. And I'm not a dancer or anything, and I had to learn a routine and get some music. I had to organise my hair and makeup and tan. Then also, because you can look at these pictures, guys, and I know I get a lot of comments, people going, and you might have something to say about this too, Sarah. I get a lot of people going, oh my God, is that you? And I'm like,
yeah, people say that all the time about mine. I think it's because I have a tan. I'm ginger, in case people can't. Oh, they can't see us, can they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ginger, so we don't tan.
That's cute. So, yeah, people, I don't get defensive about it now, but especially earlier on, and because I'm like 15, 20 kilos heavier than those photos right now, which I'm totally cool with too, by the way, people look at the photo and go, and they mean well. They go, oh my God, is that you? And the old me used to be like, yeah. But, I haven't trained for a while. I put this weight on. And then I go into the scientific side of it too, where I go, well, your water load and people's eyes widen.
Glaze over.
So we can talk about the prep, but the day before and the day, guys, it's a fine science. So you can look at these pictures in Instagram or you go to these shows and these people that are standing on stage, it's a good probably 12 months work to get them to that time. All that money, all that energy, but that last 24 to 48 hours is crucial and it can be make or break. So not only have you smashed yourself, for me it was just under a year, smashed myself in a good way, had great support. Sarah was backing me all the way, just tuning everything, making sure I was all good. But then I needed her. I lent on her 100% for her guidance 48 hours before. Because do you want to share a little bit, Sarah, about what water loading is and also the sodium levels, like when I was backstage, what you did?
Yeah. So your last week is really, really important in bodybuilding because it's, that whole, you deplete carbs and you load carbs and obviously it's very different for everyone. Depends what category you're in, depends on the person yourself and just sort of how your diet's going and so on and so forth. But yeah, that last week is vital. So generally you'll water load and water deplete, however you as a person manage that. For me, it was generally loading it right up so that a week before I was getting up to 8 to 10 litres sort of thing a day. And then you would drop it by
so that's
8. So I was 8 to 10 litres a day.
10 litres a day of water, guys. And that would be a week out before you jumped on stage?
Yeah. And then I would drop it by about 2 litres a day. But on my Wednesday, I'd weigh myself and then I'd dictate what I was doing. Usually I'd stop eating and drinking on the Wednesdays so I could get under my weight, but don't do that. But with you, Barb, we did it like the normal way. We dropped out a litre or 2 at a time, and then we'd get to the 24 to 48 hours beforehand, and we'd check on your weight and how you were doing, and then we would cut out all your sodium. We'd cut out your water slowly, and then you would on your day we would do a bit of I think we'd sodium load. Did we sodium load you on the day? Yeah. So you had the salty bacon and a little bit of Red Bull, a little bit of whiskey, and a few things before you got on stage, just to give you a bit of pep.
Yeah. I'm going to give you guys a bit of a behind the scenes. So the photos you see, I'm just going to give you 2 little stories here. The first story is when you sodium load. I went and got my hair and makeup done, and I remember you're not hungry at this stage. This is what everyone just can't understand. So
dehydrated. All you want is a drink of water.
Yeah, and I wasn't hungry, and I could eat. I can't remember exactly, guys, but I think it was salmon, bacon, a rice cake or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. Anyway, so I had that in my car, ready to go to my makeup artist. Then got my makeup done, drove home. Then got to the show, and you do all the pre-show stuff in there. And then I remember having some peanut butter and rice cakes. But guess what happened, guys? So as I was starting to eat, I needed to poo. And the thing is, it wasn't a normal poo. Like it was the sore tummy poo. And I remember, and this is real, you need to know about this. So, and I was so out of it because I was dehydrated. I was just like, when you get drunk, when you have your first couple of champagnes and you're a bit, woo, I kind of felt like that, but I wasn't drunk. And the thing when you go to competitions is they wrap all the toilets and all the bathrooms in plastic so you don't get your tan everywhere. And so I had this beautiful glittery bikini. And then all my friends and family started to arrive. So I had to be at the front and be like, oh, hey guys, hi, thanks for coming. But the whole time, every half an hour, I kept going past everyone and I was going to the toilet. And I was now looking back, I'm so surprised I didn't have like toilet paper hanging out of my bum or anything because I was so depleted. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I remember it was like, not getting too graphic, but like literally great workout for my quads, hovering over the toilet because there's plastic everywhere. Then my name got called out. My number got called out. So I went backstage and beautiful Sarah and her husband were there and they were just so amazing to me. And you got to like do this pump up thing, right? Because you're so depleted. So just by working a few muscles, you get nice and full. And it's a real science. It's timing. It's science to do with the water loading, to do with the sodium, to do with, you know, you're getting your weights backstage. I had 1 kilo dumbbells and Sarah gave them to me. I remember looking at her going, I was having a bit of a childish moment, but I allowed it and she allowed it too because she was like, do you remember when I told you how good you are acting? And I was like, oh, I was so weak. I got the 1 kilo dumbbells and I tried to do a press. I couldn't lift the 1 kilos up to my shoulders. And there was good God to know I couldn't even push them up. And Sarah was like, come on, Barbs, you can do this, you do this. So do you know how she got me to do them? She yelled out to her husband, hey, Troy, go get Barbs a Red Bull. And because I'm driven by food and stuff, and by this stage I was so thirsty, I went, oh, my God, can I have it? And she goes, Barbara, and literally had a massive you just need to have a little sip. Just have a little sip because da-da-da-da-da. And I got the can, and I remember just going for gold. She was like, no. Like pulled the Red Bull away from me. And I felt a little, oh, no, I'm not going to lie.
It's like a little sippy cup.
Yeah, and I didn't feel any better. And anyway, so I went backstage. So you go backstage and line up to go out the front. Oh, my God, I was just shitting my pants. And Sarah was so cool. She was with me the entire time. And I remember my class was novice physique, right? But what happened is because we knew the judge as well, a couple of days before, he goes, oh, Barbs, you're going to be with the open figure girls because you're the only novice physique competitor, which meant that I was standing on stage with seasoned athletes that were open physique that had been competing for 10 or so years. Especially one of them was a very seasoned athlete. So here I am, natural as, was not on anything, did not take anything. And I was standing in between these two big truck driver chicks, like massive, like roided out. And that's cool. I've got no issues with that. But I was like,
big girls.
They were big girls, which was awesome, guys, because I felt little. For the first time of my life, I was the little girl. That was a silver lining. I was backstage, and by this time it might have been about 7 o'clock at night because my class, the physique class, is always late at night. So you got to think I've been dealing with this all day. Then I'm standing, my dream is coming true. I'm standing in the middle of these girls that are very serious. And then all of a sudden I just let go and think, wow, I've coming last. Like, fucking obvious. Like, let's not. And I just dropped all expectations. I was going in it to have fun. And then I looked at Sarah, and Sarah had some whiskey with her. And because she'd been with me this whole journey, she was a little bit nervous too. She's like, oh, I'm a bit nervous. And I said, I'm nervous. But I was out of it, guys. And then she gave me a little swig of whiskey. And then she goes, oh, I actually might have one too. So you had a swig. And then she knows me so well.
So professional.
You know me so well at this stage. I just need to look at you and you go, oh, do you want another one? I mean, yeah, go on. So I have another one. And then Sarah has another one. Then I have another one. Then Sarah has another one. Then I have another one. But what happens this time is I start dribbling. That was probably the time I should stop having these shots of whiskey, because by this time when Sarah and I get together, we just giggle. And I'm standing in the middle of these two serious, like I could not tell you, serious, we're going to win, whatever. They were really giving me shit. I really thought I must have been an immature little dick, but that was okay because I probably was. And here I was dribbling.
Oh, people take themselves too seriously.
I know. Remember, I was like, Sarah, oh my God, look at my tit. And she looked at my boob because obviously my bikini on, I had so many tan on. And I was like, I've got whiskey tits. And I remember because I was dribbling, it was like messing up all my tan. And then by this stage, the alcohol, it was like a thud. It was like, when you have tequila shots, guys, and it hits you. When you've been
I think you're as lean, you're as lean as you've ever been in your life, and you're dehydrated and
you're nervous. And you haven't got off the toilet all day because that's nerves and that's, your body cleaning itself out. So there's so much stuff going on. And my dream's coming true from a 16-year-old girl. I'm going to go stand on stage and I'm going to have to do a 60-second routine to music and dance and show my body off to people. oh my God, no one's ever seen anything in my life. I've never shown any skin in my life. So holy fuck. I'm walking out and I've probably got about 20, 25 people there, all there to see me, plus the 500 people, whatever that were in the, or 300 people that were ever in the thing. So I'm standing there and this whiskey, thud, like literally that's the noise it made when it hit me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm smashed. Oh my God. And then my name gets called out. And on the video, there's a big gap between me coming out. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was waiting there. And because I knew everyone backstage, they're like, Barbs. And because I've been to so many bodybuilding competitions, I know that they say your name and they say why you're doing it and what you've done. And I missed that. So I was standing there and I argued with the judges back, like the people backstage. I said, no, they haven't read my bio yet. They're like, yeah, Barbara, they did. Can you go out now? And I was like, oh, okay. And as I was going out, all I saw were these bright lights. I couldn't see the audience. And the thing is because I had practiced my routine. Like there was one thing that I was so nervous and the music just started and it was an outer body experience. I wasn't even in my body. I could hear Sarah coaching me a little bit. But the thing is you do your routine. So I did all of that. And then the other two girls got called out and we had to stand in a line. And what happens is you get these things called compulsory poses.
Quarter turns, yeah.
Quarter turns and you do compulsory poses. So you've got to do all of that stuff as well. And here I am on stage, the biggest smile on my face, because I've had some whiskey, but also my drink. And it was such an awesome experience. And even the judge gave me an extra round because obviously everyone in the whole auditorium could tell that I was a novice compared to these two girls. But you know what the beautiful thing about that day was? Is everyone got on my side. Like these two women were standing up there, Sarah, and then the whole crowd was like, go Barbs, go Barbs. And all these people came up to me afterwards and I didn't even know who they were, but it was such a beautiful.
I think you even got those two women on your side too. They were congratulating you and like I'm stoked for you at the end.
Yeah, and it was really nice. And it was just clearly here I was natural and I was up against these girls. It was a bit, it was fine. But the whole experience was you're so jaded. I did 3 rounds, which for a novice never happened, but because the judge knew me and knew the people that had come to see me and knew the work I'd put into it and it was my dream, he gave us a bonus round. Judging was a little bit tight with me and one of the girls at one stage because they did put us together and there was a little bit, clearly I was coming third, but there was a little moment where they wanted us to be together just to double check a little bit. But that's okay. But it was such a and then you're not hungry afterwards. Like you had all your Snickers and your snakes and like whatever you haven't been eating this entire time and you're just not hungry. And then I felt a bit down. Like I felt really like deflated, but it was okay because that was in August. And then in October, I was going to Christchurch for the Nationals. So we got straight back into training and straight back into dieting. But I just think that every time you do a comp, it's different. You look different every time. You feel different every time. And different things are going on in your life, And for me too, remember, I'm thinking that as I'm doing this, I'm not lean. I'm still not lean. I'm still not pretty. I'm still not good enough. I look back at those photos now and I'm so proud of myself. But when you're in it, guys, the toll that it takes on your mental health, even if you've got seasoned competitors,
massive.
It's huge, isn't it? Do you want to enlighten anything about the mental side of the sport and how tough it can get?
I mean, I think I touched on it before. It's sort of, I think there's a lot of people, especially first time competitors and stuff like even you had this idea that once you got to the certain certain weight or the certain body fat percentage or something like that everything was going to click and you're going to feel great and you're going to be happy in yourself and stuff like that. But I don't think that externally anything that happens is actually going to make you click and feel great about yourself. It's sort of, you have to have that on the inside before you start to do that, because otherwise it's just going to drive you absolutely crazy. And there are a lot of people that do bodybuilding as a crutch, I think. There are a lot of people that do it years after years after years after years after years, and they just really screw themselves up. And you can see how that happens, because you get up on stage, you look fantastic, and you've been deprived of these really good things that you love to eat, like chocolate and all the bad stuff, for so long, that you get off stage, you do have a little bit of a binge maybe, but even just the water coming back into your system 2 days after your comp, you're bloated and you look, inverted commas, fat, compared to what you were. And it's a huge mental game to kind of get your head around the fact that you can't look stage ready all the time.
Yeah,
because it's just not possible.
Yeah, that's an awesome lead into what I want to talk about next, is the photos that you see, guys. And I kept my weight off for a couple of years after that, but I didn't look as lean, but I never thought I was that lean anyway. But you got to remember that it's that science that brings you to that look. It brings you look like that for about 24 hours, and then 48 hours you can look a little bit better because you have a refeed, which bodybuilding's changed a lot. But when I was first in it, in my 20s, there was no such thing as a refeed, or no such thing as a morning and night show, and things changed a lot. But usually old school, you just do one show, you get it done. Then people would eat a bit of junk food, they wouldn't really want it, and then they looked amazing. That's when the photo shoots would happen, because they were fuller, they were happier. But when you see these photos on Instagram, everywhere else, one or two things may be happening in that photo. Please be aware of Photoshop. Of that's
Yep.
just that's like,
angles, lighting,
Photoshop. But I want to talk to you about genetics too. So my beautiful friend here trains very, very hard, but she's got some beautiful genetics, that she's got like the best ass you've ever seen, and she has and I tell my clients this too, and you have abs like all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's, for women to have abs doesn't happen, guys, because of our hormones, because of how we're built. But genetically, sometimes it can, but also how long you've trained, how hard you train, because training is all about consistency. Bodybuilding is,
and it's
all about
7 types of training too.
Consistency, right? So with Sarah, it's, she's got them all the time, because I have a lot of clients and I never had them, and that's okay. But I have a lot of young girls come and see me, oh, Barbara, and show me photos of very lean sports. I would say, what's that? Like the model one.
Sports model. Yeah, sports model one.
A slight six-pack showing, and how do I get abs like this, Barbara? I want to get abs. And this is the conversations that we have, is these photos you see, photoshopped, lighting, angles, genetics. Like Sarah works really, really hard, but I know there's a little bit of genetics in you, but it's a mixture of genetics, all the years you've trained, how to use functional movement properly for your body. But I think for you, am I right in saying there's a little bit of genetics in there for your abs to show how they always do?
I think that in everyone's body type, there's like genetics play a huge part. I have quite a broad waist. I don't have a little, how girls look great in like high-waisted pants with like a little crop top on, and they look all cute and stuff. I don't, because I'm straight up and down like a fucking ruler. But because of that, because I'm quite broad through that midsection, I do have abs, but they're like thick, So I lean down, and they look a bit better. But I do have big blocky abs. I always do. And that's, I do a huge amount of like complex lifts and Olympic lifting type stuff and powerlifting type stuff. So it comes from, I guess, a bit of that. But yeah, genetics does play a huge part. But it's like me looking, like we were talking about, you're never going to be a bikini model. Neither am I. It's just not, it's not in my genetics. Yeah. You're right. I have a great ass. I'll take that. But I'm never going to be a bikini model, because I'm just not built like that. I'm not built like these, these like tall, tiny little waists, lean, long-legged kind of beautiful girls. That's, yeah. And I don't want to. I don't judge myself on that, because that's not what I'm going to look like, and I'm okay with that.
Yes,
but I think, yeah.
because for me, my whole life, up until I competed, until I met you, Sarah was really good for me because she kind of shone a light on, this is your body type, Barbara, and you kind of can't change your body type. Where I was always looking at something that I'll never be, but I desperately wanted to be. So I would
I remember going through your Instagram feed, and it was all these bikini girls and all these fitness girls and stuff like that. And I'm like, you need to stop looking at this. Like, look at some physique girls, look at some like CrossFit girls, you know, just big shouldered, big kind of strong girls that are, you know, bombard yourself with images of things that you are capable of being. Don't try and, you're going to have to change. Not even plastic surgery will make you, you know, one of those girls. It's just not, it's not in your genetics. It's not what you are. And that's okay, because we don't all fit into one mold.
And see,
That'd
guys,
be fucking boring if we did.
Yeah, and that's how Sarah, like, literally 2015 was when my life changed. It changed for many reasons, but she was the first one that said, show me what you're looking at, show me what you want to be like, and really was in a beautiful way. It hurt my ego more than anything, and I was sad because I was like, oh, I want to look like this. And by someone saying, your body cannot look like this, it was the first time I started to listen and be like, oh, okay. Guys, back then I think weight, but I thought I was, and I had this different perception of my body, and it was a beautiful way that it was awareness. Sarah was the first person in my life that had no judgment about my body, loved me for who I was.
To be fair, I wanted a body like yours, because I want to be built like, you know, built bigger.
Isn't that bizarre, right? We always look at someone else, and I look at you and just be like, oh my God, I wish I had your body.
And I'm like, oh man, if I could have those legs, and if I was solid, it would be great. No.
Yeah. And you just don't want to be when you're a girl like that. It's
I think it's the theory of the straight hair and curly hair. So everyone that has curly hair wants straight hair. Everyone that has straight hair wants curly hair. I'm like, we always want what we don't have.
Yeah. But it's a great sport, but you've got to really have the right people behind you, and you've got to know that when you come out of it, so when you come out of it, whether it's just one or two like me, or you decide to do it for a few years in your life, you've got to remember that when you come out of it, the things that it exposes for you, the things that, you know, there's a lot of people that can really diet good, but when they have to do the reverse dieting or come back to some kind of normality, really struggle mentally. And I know, coming off the back of those two comps, the next day I was probably about a size 10 when I was competing, which is not normal for my body anyway, not natural, never been that small in my life. But I remember, promise you, the next day I felt like I was a size 20. And that's no exaggeration. I was a size 10 the next day, but this is the stuff that your mind plays. So just with the water, might have had a couple of wines, and I'm talking wouldn't have had much, and it was just the stress and just everything for that whole week. And I remember posting something on Instagram, and now I look back and think, oh my God, I literally felt like I was a size 20. And would you relate to that too, Sarah? You feel like you're huge.
Yeah, I think also my background was that I had an eating disorder, so I could relate to people that overeat, because I mean, overeating and undereating is exactly the same disorder, really. Yeah. And it was rather than emotionally binging, I would emotionally undereat. So I think for me, I was quite prepared in the sense that I knew that I wouldn't feel good no matter how lean I was, and I always feel big. So even when I jumped off stage, and like I just felt like a blimp as soon as you jump off stage. It's just like the water hits you and you're like, who? But I wasn't, that didn't play as big a mental game on me, I think, as it does with a lot of people. Yeah. Just because I was somewhat prepared for it, but it's massive. It's you can put on, I think I generally try and for the general population, I like to talk in kilos, because women are so caught up on, I lost 5 kilos or something like that. You can put on 5 to 10 kilos in less than a week coming off stage, just with water and filling yourself back up with carbs. And just hormones and all sorts of stuff. It's normal. And you feel like you're a size 20 immediately. But it's your body just readjusting and going, oh shit, whoa, oh well, hey, that's food again. Like, that's normal food. That's water. That's, oh my God, what is this? You do put yourself through hell in that last week, and you have to expect some fallout.
Yeah, and I got acid reflux for the very first time after the second comp. I tried to eat some. Cause the thing is, you don't feel like anything, and you don't want anything. And then I'd bought all this food the week before, like Tim Tams and what did I buy? I don't know now, but I remember getting a really nice expensive granola muesli and a really nice expensive yogurt, and I was put some banana on. Like, banana was like, oh my God, I'm having a banana, and had banana, and I had probably
I live on bananas
now, and I had massive acid reflux straight away. And now I know with my what I've trained, and now I know the body. But I had zero mind-body connection when I competed. Nothing, to the point where I didn't get my period. Oh, this is the story I want to tell you too. I didn't get my period for a while. I can't remember what comp, but I remember the second comp. And I'm really open and honest about this. I wanted to see how lean I could get. So I did dabble a little bit in pharmaceutical diuretics, but it was only like 1 or 2 tablets I took. And I remember my number, and Sarah was really high up in the comp this day. So I struggled hard because I wanted to be there for her, and she was on in the morning. And then her experience, it wasn't pleasant because it's very political. And then so I was there, and I was about to jump on. I missed my little best mate. Like, my little best mate was like, it was her day too, and it was her sport way more than me. Like, I was just a spare wheel. It didn't really matter.
No. It was such a exciting, new, cool experience for you that you'd wanted for so long. It doesn't matter like how, if someone's up there or competing in like the top levels or whatever they're doing, it doesn't matter. Everyone is on their own individual journey, and like, it's super important to them whatever they do.
Yeah, but it was so hard because I remember walking, they called my number, and I went backstage, and with the pharmaceutical diuretics, I was really, like, I don't take.
Yeah, they knock you for 6.
Let's just say I wasn't there. And I remember going down this really long corridor, and this lovely gentleman says, oh dear, where are you going? And I said, oh, I'm going backstage. He goes, no, you're not. And I walked for ages, so I don't know where I was going. And I was in a bikini with bare feet, so God knows where I was going. He turned me around. The wonder where I
walking up the main street at Christchurch in a bikini and bare feet.
Probably. I was that out of
sweetheart, I think you're going in the wrong direction.
And I remember, as a side note, this is how depleted I was even before I got there. We had to fly down. And I'm such a good packer, and I'm an overpacker. I'm an over-planner. I always take things just in case. And I was working down there too. So in my job, I was working and competing. So I remember flying down there. One of my bosses from one of the other regions picked me up from the airport, took me to the hotel. I opened my suitcase. I shit you not. No undies, jandals, which Australians call thongs.
That's a G-string.
Yes, I know. That's a whole conversation for another day.
Okay.
I had nothing warm, and it was when it was cold, and I had no clothes. I had packed a suitcase with nothing in it. So that's how depleted I was. Anyway, I get backstage, and this old dude showed me where to go. And guys, when I walked backstage, I was the last of the physique girls. So there's all these beautiful figure girls, and they're all open. The open figure girls, they were stunning, like models, beautiful long hair, stunning bikinis, their high heels, all lined up, ready to go. And then I walk in with my bare feet and my bikini on, and I'm walking in off my tree. And then all of a sudden, there's 2 of us in my class, and I thought, oh my God, I might have a look. I know I'm novice as shit, but I might have a go. Oh my God, I could come first. Oh my God. So my thought pattern was, oh my God, oh. As I turn around the corner, I see this woman hunched over, grunting, doing some like flies with a like a band. like literally like an Arnold Schwarzenegger grunt. I shit you not, leaning over, grunting, every muscle in her body rippling, her coach looking at her in her face, come on, Nicola, come on, come on. And I walk out there going, oh, I'm fucked.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Going, I might win my class to seeing this massive beast who, when I got off stage, realised she was going to South Africa for the Worlds a week later. Makes sense. But right now, Barbara doesn't realise that. She's off her tree on pharmaceutical diuretics, bare feet. I turned around and I remember walking out and these, it would have been like 20 chicks, like a massive line of chicks all running, no, you don't. And they all kind of scooched me up and all of them were like, you were at the August comp. Oh my God. And I didn't know. I was so adamant. They were like, oh my God, we remember you. You look so different now. You look so amazing. Oh my God. And they kind of somehow shuffled me to the front of the line because I was next. And what happens, guys, when you're that depleted, any level of stress, any level of anything can trigger a lot of emotions in the body. So I smoothed out quite a bit from that moment. I wasn't ripped anyway, but I wasn't as hard as I was before all this shit happened. I walked out and did my routine and stuff. And then I went to the toilet straight after and I got my period. And it was a bit gut-wrenching and I was really angry at my body. And the first thing I thought, which really makes me sad now, was, oh, fuck you, body. I've got my period. No wonder I looked bigger and no wonder I'm novice. I'm not doing this to win anything. I'm doing it for myself. And here I am shitting on my beautiful body that just did something. I remember going to the toilet, getting my period. God, thank God it didn't all the things that could have happened when I was on stage. But anyway, and I remember going to the toilet straight after and look, and I can see it in the photos now. I can look in the photos and I'm really like hormonal and I can see the puffiness and stuff. But I think also that was big part of that was I was going to walk out and not go on stage because it was ridiculous, guys. Like I was standing next to her. I looked really good from my second comp. I grew a lot. And from that short amount of time, from August to October, I look at those photos. Wow, big difference, can see it. But I smoothed out. And it's just so interesting that you can be so hard on yourself and you can do the sport. It is such a beautiful sport. If it's done in a healthy way, I mean, like done in a healthy way as a mindset way, you've got the support and you do it because you enjoy it. And whatever the outcome is, it doesn't really matter because it's out of your hands, the outcome. It's so political most of the time. It's who's on someone's knees for someone sucking someone off. Like it's not, that's what it was like in New Zealand, but I don't know what it's like in Oz. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I did the sport.
I'd say it's extremely similar.
Yeah. And I did that.
Most high level sports are like that, to be fair. Any sport that you're at like a high level and you see the politics in it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at boxing.
True. But I just wanted to share this because this woman, Sarah, just helped me. She was there the whole time and she could have a different perspective on what my journey was. And I still don't know how I did it, really. You're training twice a day, 6 days a week. You're weighing everything. It's interesting, guys. If you're ever going to go on this journey, please be mindful that other people's opinions get really loud. So, oh, should you be eating that? Oh, that's not healthy. Oh, I think you should be doing this. Oh, you should have a life. It's not healthy. To be in this sport, you've got to lock yourself down. You've got to, in that 16, 20 week, 24 period, you have no life because you have to live. You are still a mum. You still work. You're still a wife. You're still whatever. On top of that, you've got to train twice a day. You've got to get all your food in at certain times. You've got to hit these markers and you take day by day. But as you get closer, guys, you've got to practice your posing. You've got to get your routine. You've got to get your wax. No, there was no laser back then. It was starting to come in. But you've got your waxing done. You've got to get everything done on top of living a normal life. But people, you've got to be strong in a way that whatever people say to you, you've got to brush it off. What are you eating? How are you eating? Oh, that's not healthy. That
Teflon.
Can't. Right?
You've got to be Teflon.
Yeah, it's got to wash right off you. I had a lot of experience in that. I was seasoned in dieting and stuff, and I was always that girl that would go to things and, oh, Barbs, can you eat this? Because I'd been a serious dieter ever since I was 24, that people stopped asking. I did get a lot of comments and stuff. Oh, I got a lot of comments as my body started to change and I got leaner and leaner. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't realize how lean I was. I still thought I was like massive. So people got to that point just before competing. Oh, Barbara, you're too skinny. Too skinny and Barbara doesn't come in the same sentence. Oh, Barbara, you're looking a bit sick. You're too skinny. I think you're taking this too seriously now. And I was like, oh my God. Like, you cannot let other people's opinions, and that's possibly why some people may drop out, is because they listen to other people. It gets
that's a huge factor. And like, you get the whole, we used to get that all the time, the whole, oh, well, that's not very attractive. I don't think that's very attractive. Oh, why would you want to look like that? It's not very womanly. It's not blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, men don't like that. I'm like, I don't give a flying fuck what men like. I don't give a flying fuck what you like. It's about what I like. Thank you. It's not about them. And I think the other thing was the do-gooders that always, oh, I've made this for you. This is healthy. This is healthy. And you're like, oh, I think that's the hardest part. It's people trying to help, but they don't understand. And you feel terrible because you're like, you're like, this is why I shut myself away.
Yeah, it is a good point, because I was a sales rep, or I was a head of marketing for a company, and I would be on the road a lot, and I would be going into these advertising agencies, seeing my clients, and they always have coffees and all sorts of things and muffins and that. And yeah, really good point, Sarah, because there are many times where I could drink black coffee, and it was, do you remember that day I had that you won't remember. We were going to training, or we hung out so much. You and I were going on an adventure somewhere, and one day I had meeting back to back to back to back that I literally lived off black coffee all day, to the point where I was in your car. Do you remember? And I said to you, oh my God, Sarah, I'm not drinking coffee again. Like, I literally, my heart was, I can drink a lot of coffee.
You're having palpitations.
I drink a lot of coffee. Caffeine doesn't affect me. I'm real cool with that. No worries. But this particular day, because I was so depleted and I had to push through so much work, and these were meetings I really had to be present for. I just remember just coffee, and in your car shaking, going, oh my God, I can't feel like this again. It was awful.
Yeah. I think we've all done that to ourselves at some point, overdone it on the caffeine and stuff. But yeah, you tend to be super careful with that, with bodybuilding, because it's just, you are so lean as well, so you're more sensitive to that stuff. And you do rely on it a bit more because you're so tired.
Yeah, always tired.
But when you were saying that you're getting super lean, I was recalling that I was bequeathing some of my my bigger pants to you and stuff. So like my off-season stuff you were getting into, so I'd give that to you. I remember giving you a couple of pairs of pants.
I was wearing some of your clothes. I wore some of your jeans. God,
yeah.
I've actually got them. I've still got them as a reminder. They're tiny.
Yeah,
and
well, they'd be...
They were size
10.
Yeah, size 10. To me, who's a 14, that's tiny. And I held them up the other day and looked at them and went, oh my God, I thought I was fat back then. So guys, it's just a friendly reminder that our mind, you've got to be mates with your mind. And I'm just, not lucky.
I got down to a size 4 to 6. Not when I was bodybuilding, earlier than that. And I thought that I was fat. So yeah, I was like 48 kilos, I think. Yeah, 48 kilos. Am I skinny? So my backbone was sticking out, and there was just nothing to me. And I was convinced that I was still fat. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we've got to take our mindset away from, once I fit into this particular box, I will be happy.
Amen. Yeah. Like I would never have taken this bodybuilding. It was interesting because with me, so the whole bodybuilding thing, I wanted to do it as a teenager. I was going to do it at some stage anyway. I was 35, guys, when I jumped on stage. So don't let age ever stop you. So I was 35 when I competed. And I was in a relationship at the time, which wasn't a healthy one. And I remember this particular guy, when I looked my best, and he lived in Australia, and I was so excited to see him because I thought, kind of deep down thought I knew I looked a bit of all right, and I was kind of excited to see him because I hadn't seen him for ages, and he hadn't seen the transformation, and I saw him.
You did look a bit of all right.
Thanks. And I remember so excited.
Except for your whiskey tits.
Yeah. And he didn't say anything. He said nothing.
Yeah.
And
it's because he was a douchebag.
And it just broke me. And then over time, he would use that when I moved here. Oh, I took for granted how hot you used to look. Like, you used to be so lean and so beautiful. Look at you now. And you, like, it just shows you've got to be around the right people, because and this was 6 years ago. People can say one word to you and it will stick with you for life. But with the sport, you can look at the pictures, guys, and be like, oh, I want to look like that, or they look so amazing. But this podcast today was to just, there's so much to it, but give you an insight that you look like that for 24 to 48 hours. What goes behind it? How do you get on stage? What happens with the mental stuff? It's more mental. And I was lucky enough, I had Sarah with me. Oh, there's no way I could have done it without Sarah. No way.
You would have managed.
There's no way. And it's just, it just grew our friendship like a lot tighter as well. But it was just one of the hardest things I've done in my life, but one of the best things. It's just really, it's why I do my business today, because it was one of my first light bulb moments where I was like, 3 years after I competed, 4 years after I competed, I went, oh, so I looked the best. I was not healthy, but I looked the best, but I was really unhappy. But, I thought if I looked like that, I never thought I could be that small. But what? I wasn't happy? Huh?
I was trying to explain this to you at the time.
Yeah. And
you were not listening to me.
No, because I was all about looks. I didn't care about anything else. And that's me being honest, guys. I was just so driven that, because I've been drilled into me, such a little girl. I'm such a big girl. I'm big. Barbara's got big boobs. Barbara's big, 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 big. And when anyone would ever comment about my body, they'd use 2 words: you're big or you're voluptuous. Blech. That word just...
I hate that word, voluptuous.
That word would be like, guys would say it to me, and I would get to the point where, because I was very fiery in my 20s. I tell you what, I did have a mouth on me, very fiery. And someone said that to me, I'd be like, oh, I'd tell him to F off. And I'd be like, that's the polite way of saying I'm overweight. And you could see the guy back, no, I didn't mean that. And I would be so fiery, because it would just trigger all sorts of things in me. Like, that word voluptuous triggers so much in me. It's like,
I much prefer curvy. I don't
even like that.
Voluptuous.
Are they both?
Voluptuous sounds like frumpy to me.
They both usually, I think, in the 90s and the early 2000s and stuff, that was when people were trying to describe someone that had big boobs, I think.
Ooh.
I don't know, but any of those words, it's just like, you've got a body. Please don't label it. Yeah, and it was just interesting seeing how I got treated differently. So when I would walk into different shops, when I was lean, still thinking I was fat, people looked at me differently. People treated me differently to what they treat me now. It's really such an interesting thing to go through. And yeah, it doesn't fix everything. It can just come along with other things that you need to work on. But I tell you what, great sport if you've got the right support around you and you're doing it for the right reasons. It can change your life. It changed mine, and it changed mine to give me the awareness of where I'm at today, and made me so proud. For the first time in my life, when I met Sarah and trained with all the people that I was training with, I felt like I belonged for the first time. I was always the girl in my group that wasn't the pretty one, the girly one. Even though I'm girly, I always felt like the frumpy one, or the bigger one that stands out, or whatever. And then when I met Sarah and all that gang, and we all trained together, for me it was a community, and it was more like I felt like I belonged, and you know what I mean? And people would saw me for Barbara, and people would comment, like my trainer or someone would comment, fuck, look at your back. And oh my God, I'd be like, whoa, really? And like, yeah. I'd be like, oh, cool. So the conversation changed from, wow, look at you, look at what you've got. That made me so happy, because I felt like I belonged. I was part of a family, or I belonged. I wasn't so weird and wasn't abnormal because I was bigger than all the other girls.
Yes, I mean, it's more celebrated, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I was
Because
accepted.
it's got muscle.
Yeah, and when I was
That's what people are looking at.
yeah, when I grunt, so I don't wear makeup to the gym. When I train, I go really red in the face. I grunt when I train. It's not a pretty sight at all, and I pull wicked facials. But wicked. Apparently, I have a really good resting bitch face when I diet.
Oh, yes, you have a resting bitch face. I forgot about your resting bitch face.
I actually
Such
forgot
a good
about it doing.
resting bitch face.
Sarah sent me a text once that had a photo of the smiley face and it just had the word grumpy on it, and she just sent it to me. No words. One day I must have been a bit grumpier than normal, and she just sent me and just said grumpy, and I went, oh, yep, probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
we were all grumpy back in those days, though.
Oh, it's just so interesting the things you remember and the things you forget. But yeah, I mean, just wrapping up too, it was just I wanted to have this podcast because it's the most talked about podcast that people wanted to hear my journey and the reason why I did it and how I did it. But I know that a lot of you look at the photos and be like, oh wow. You got to remember too, even though it was my first competition, I started touching weights when I was 16. So I didn't have any break. I've had a break now, but from 16 to 35, I never really had a break from training. So you got to remember that you got to look at you got to know what you're looking at. You got to know someone's story. And guys, just a little side note, when you are looking at these photos, we talked about Photoshop, we talked about lighting, we talked about genetics. One that I want to squeeze in there is illegal substances. So girls aren't meant to be hard. They aren't meant to be hard around the stomach area, around the shoulders, things popping. There's all sorts of drops and fat burners and all sorts of things you can get. Steroid don't just come in needles, guys. A lot of people think bodybuilding steroids are steroids. There's a needle that goes into your arm. That's one form of steroid. You can have tablets. You can have all sorts of things. So I want you to be
there's drops. There's all sorts.
All sorts. And then what happens is when you get into that world, you'll take the drops, or I've never tried anything, but I was married to someone that did a lot. So you have the injections or you take the tablets or you do whatever. But what happens, guys, is it plays with your body, really enhances your body dysmorphia. Then when you're on that, you need something to give you a bit of an upper. Then you have something that gives you an upper, and then you start taking something for a bit of a downer. So steroids isn't just, people think to get ripped or to get big, for guys or girls, they use them in different ways. Use steroids. Guys, when you have steroids, you've still got to eat clean. You've still got to train hard. You've still got to do the work. It just means that your body heals quicker. Like when the muscle tears, it heals quicker and grows quicker. But it's a real misconception that, oh, you're on steroids. And it's like, hey, before you pay someone out, they've still got to diet, still got to train. It's just they recover better. You know what I mean? And for women too, women take steroids.
Gives them the ability to work harder.
Yeah, women take steroids too for many different reasons. And I just want you to know that when you start going down that track, it's a bit of a messy one because your head's already a bit from bodybuilding. Then if you go on steroids, you can already have, all bodybuilders will have body dysmorphia at some point, because most bodybuilders get into bodybuilding because they've been bullied as a kid, or they've got something about their body that they really want to change, or they have eating issues or eating disorders or something. Like, it's kind of pretty prominent that there'll be one of those things. But when you look at these photos, especially the young girls that show me some of these photos, like, Barbara, I want to look like this. And I'm all for helping someone to look a certain way. But when I can see a photo and Sarah's definitely, I don't have as much of an eye as what Sarah does, but I can look at a photo and pretty much know, yeah, that's not natural. And I mean, it's harder now. Like, this was like 6-7 years ago. It's harder now to really look at a photo and go, is that filtered? Is that real? Is that whatever? But I know I've had some photos recently put in front of me of girls going, oh, Barbara, I want to look like that. All for helping someone with their goals, but you've got to know, guys, that sometimes it's really underground. You can train with a trainer. You can have a personal trainer that will say, I'm natural. Personally, I've been through this where I had a role model where I looked up to for years. She was in a lot of fitness magazines. She traveled around the world doing bodybuilding competitions, and I saw her 2 or 3 times a week. I was very close to her, and I had a heart-to-heart with her one day, and I said, come on, you use. It's okay. No, black and blue, nah. And what my experience was in that bodybuilding world with the upper athletes is they lie to your face, no, I'm not on anything. And then, because I was married to someone that I actually knew, you when you've been around it long enough, I can even smell it. I can even walk into a gym. I think Sarah would be the same. I walk into a gym and I know whether the gym sells the stuff or not. It's this real distinct odor that stinks. Do you know that smell, Sarah?
You would always talk about the smell. I don't know it so much, but there's definitely, like it's a really like unspoken thing, the whole like steroid use and stuff, but in all sport. It's not just bodybuilding, but in all sport, especially at the higher levels, the more elite athletes, they're doing what they can do to be the best.
Yeah.
And half the time, the majority of the people that you're competing next to are going to be on some form of gear. And so people always think that, steroids and stuff like that. But these days you've got young boys taking them to look good at freaking festivals and stuff. So it's very, very readily available. You go into a gym and you kind of, side eye to one person and they'll be able to find you some, whether it's them or someone else in the gym that'll sell them, but you'll be able to get them very, very easily. They're not hard to get your hands on.
Yeah.
And they're very, very prevalent.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to just bring it up, because just not for the guys, but for the girls, and especially with the fat burners. And
they're not what they used to be.
No, I know. Because I have taken some. I'm not perfect. I have taken some stuff in the past, but it wasn't steroids, but it was definitely other stuff that was, and that was strong.
Yeah. Oh, well, on those subjects, there used to be, talking about there used to be fat burners and stuff that were available over the counter, and your pre-workouts and things like that. And I mean, most people that have been in, like gymming, just gym rat kind of stuff for years, would know that the majority of the really good pre-workouts and the really good fat burners and things like that always end up getting taken off the market because most of them have got crack in them.
Yeah.
I remember the old Gaspari Detonate fat burner was amazing. God, it was brilliant. I looked forward to the last month before a competition. And then there was a New Zealand cricket player that was on them for his diet or whatever, and he ended up pulling up that. So it had MDMA in it. It explains a lot.
Most of the stuff back then did have MDMA, did have that in it, and it was great.
MDMA or BZP or just straight meth, just pseudoephedrine.
It made
good times.
It made training so much fun, I tell you what. But I just wanted you to be aware that when you look at a photo, please ask yourself those questions. There's nothing wrong to wanting to do the sport and wanting to get into it. It's great. Find the right people that are local around you that can support you. There's plenty out there, and plenty of amazing, great people that do it for the right reasons and coach people for the right reasons. So,
back on the subject of photos, though, I think it's also important for people to be inspired by photos rather than want to look like that person in that photo. So change your mindset in that sense, that don't look at this photo and go, I want to be that. Look at this photo and go, that's awesome. I aspire to be something in that realm, to try and look what I can as a reflection of that sort of thing. But don't try and be that photo. Just be inspired by it.
And that's why
that kind of
guys. So as we sign off this podcast, that's why she helped me get through 2 competitions, and that's why she was my coach, because can you see the different mindsets that we've both got? And that served me, like I said, she was my right-hand lady, and I owe her so much, and that's why I was going to say yes, it changed my life. It literally, the sport, that point in my life was such a turning point for me to where I'm at now, and you were just such a massive part of that. So, and that's why I couldn't do this podcast without you, because it wouldn't have been the same. So
good times.
Thank you so much for joining me, and for sharing with my listeners about my journey, because I constantly, at least once or twice a week, I'll get a message about it. Are you going to do another one? How did you do it? When did you do that? Wow, you look amazing. How did you do that? So I get flooded all the time with messages, and I tend to not talk about it because I'm more than that, and it was a while ago. So I'm a different person, but then at the same time, I need to give myself credit that yes, I never gave it the credit it deserved at the time. I really brushed it over, and it wasn't until 3 or 4 years later I'd be like, hang on, I did a thing and it was really fucking epic, and my best friend did it with help me, why couldn't I just was not present. But I think that's part of the sport too. I wasn't present. Take it all.
Part of life too.
I had
part of life too. We don't. You never appreciate what you're doing or what you've got until it's gone.
That's true, and I had a lot going on in my life then too. I don't really know how I put it together, but I did. But thank you so much for joining me today, Sarah. And now everyone can put the name to the voice at least. So
I'm not imaginary. Or maybe I am.
Yeah. No, I'm not even going to go into that, but it's a private joke between us. But thank you so much for joining me today. And I think a lot of people listening are going to get a really good insight into, I guess, a little bit about the sport, and it's constantly evolving and it's constantly changing. So just make sure you definitely need a team of people behind you. You can't do it on your own, and make sure you get the right support, because the sport's constantly changing and it's not broccoli and chicken like it used to be. It's really evolved, and you can have some fun with it, and you can really look after your body as you go through this sport. You don't have to kill yourself, depending on what level you're at. But usually at the general base level, you can actually enjoy the process and have fun with it at the same time of it being a sport. So would you? Yeah. So that's all I've got to say. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, love.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbarathomson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you, and I'll catch you soon. Bye!